This is Inside Varsity Sports on the Sidelines Football Edition. Hello again, everyone. Lou Brogno along with Rich DeKorte here at ice cold Don Bosco Prep, 32 degrees as we speak to you today as we get ready for Bergen Bosco Part 2 here in this 2019 season. Of course, this game with much more significance than the regular season meeting. The first round of the playoffs, the first time that Bergen and Bosco have met in the first round since the year 2000. And Rich, this has been a great series, as we all know, throughout the years. The 71st meeting between Bergen and Bosco. And over the last 8 games, it's 4-4 between the Crusaders and the Ironmen. And in fact, in the last 7, the games have been decided by 7 points or less. So we expect another tremendous game here on Friday night.
Lou, I don't know if there's a bigger stage in New Jersey high school football than Bergen Bosco in the postseason, and this one has lived up to the hype. Obviously, we saw a terrific game earlier this year here at Granatell Stadium between the Ironmen and the Crusaders, one that literally came down to the final drive. Plenty of talk leading into this one. Are we going to play the game Friday night? Are we going to play Saturday afternoon? But no, we always play Friday games here at Bosco. You know, all the little quirks of this rivalry chirping back and forth the whole week heading into this one. Obviously a must-win game for both sides, and really an interesting spot. I mean, this is a completely different Bosco team from what we saw earlier in the year. The Bergen Catholic team that's a little banged up. You know, I think it's on Bergen to really be up for this game and come in here and maybe shock the rest of the state.
Well, the first time around, it was a 6-point game, 23-17. And this time around, we had an opportunity really to talk to both coaches. We did catch up with Vito Campanile, and we talked to him a little bit about what he took out of that first meeting between the two teams. Playoff time, Coach. Right into the fire, though, up against Bosco in the first game, the first playoff game. What are your thoughts going up against Bosco here in Game 1?
I think it's awesome. I mean, you can't get a better environment to play a game in. I mean, to me, it's why you come to Bergen Catholic, right? It's great. It's a great environment. They certainly turned the heat off for this one, talking about the fire, though, right? It got cold out in a hurry today. But, no, we couldn't be more excited about going up there. I mean, it's a great environment to play, and it's a tremendous tradition.
First time you played them this year, obviously, was a very close game, a 6-point game. What do you take out of that game looking towards this playoff?
Well, I think they have super players. I mean, Kyle Monangai is as hard of a guy to tackle as you're going to find. Jalen Berger is as elite of a running back as you're going to find in the country. And defensively, they're so dynamic. I mean, the kid Colin Ramos is by far and away the most under-heralded kid in the league. He is a super player. So just being able to block him and being able to get on their bodies, I mean, they're doing a great job coaching them up, and they're getting better every week. Right now, they're playing as good a football as anybody that you're going to find in New Jersey.
Here's a question. When you play a team like that you've played so many times in the past, advantage or disadvantage going into the game?
The commonality, I honestly think it's a great thing. It's almost like the NFL, right? Like you're familiar with what they do. They got great players, and you understand where those great players are. But, you know, you lose a lot of sleep at night worrying about them.
What are the keys for your team in this game to be successful?
I think it's a lot of the same. We know who we are. You know, we got to establish a run game. We got to be really physical, get downhill with the ball. And obviously, you know, you're trying to tackle 2 of the most elite players in the Northeast. So making sure that they don't get off and get those huge big plays and plus runs, and I think that's a big part of it.
Of course, that's Lou chatting with Bergen Catholic head man Vito Campanile earlier in the day. Lou also had the chance to catch up with the stud sophomore running back Ryan Butler, over 1,000 yards on the season so far for Butler. It's Lou chatting with him earlier today in Oradell.
All right, Ryan, it doesn't get any more exciting than this. First round of the playoffs, and Bosco's on the other side. What are your thoughts going into this game?
Well, it's going to be a great atmosphere the whole time. It's going to be a great game. They have a great team. They have great players all over the field. And we're just looking to come out with the win.
Going up against that Bosco defense, what do you take out of the first meeting? And that was a close game, obviously a 6-point affair. What do you take out of that as you prepare for this game?
Well, we look back at the tape, and we just need to be tougher than they were, just like the first game. And just come out, be tough, and we should come out with the win.
Hey, what's been the key to this running attack this year for Bergen?
Well, our offensive line is amazing. They block the best in the country, in my opinion. And just being tougher than the team across from us has really been the difference.
Hey, what's the confidence level, especially on the offensive side of the ball, for the Crusaders heading into this game?
We're always confident, but we respect our opponents. But we're pretty confident. We think we have some good things for them coming up, and we think we should win this game.
All right. Once again, Lou chatting with the sophomore tailback Ryan Butler. Also had a chance to chat with Crusader linebacker Gerard Cruz.
Javon, what are your feelings on this Bergen Catholic defense entering this game against Bosco as you look back at this past season?
I think we're very confident. Took a tough loss against DePaul. We need to just really bounce back. That's it. So, yeah.
First time around against Don Bosco Prep, it was a 6-point game, very close game. What do you guys take out of that game in preparing for this second time around?
Just to make no mistakes. Don't let Kyle or Berger get out the pocket. You know what I'm saying? They're really good runners, so we just got to shut them down. That's it.
All right, Bergen Catholic, the number 6 seed. Crusaders coming into this game 5-3. On the other side, Bosco is 5-4. The Ironmen with 3 straight wins over St. Joe's DePaul and Paramus Catholic, and only 2 New Jersey losses to Bergen Catholic and St. Peter's Prep by a combined 10 points. And earlier, Rich had an opportunity to catch up with Coach Sabella, Dan Sabella of Don Bosco Prep, and he talked to him about going up against the Crusaders for the second time this season.
Bosco Bergen, first round of the playoffs. Is there a bigger stage in New Jersey?
You know what? This is what you work all year for. This is what you put all those hours in, all summer and all preseason and stuff like that. And it's great to have a second chance at them.
In terms of, managing this game as a coach, dealing with teenagers, right, and all the emotion that comes with this game, kind of where are you trying to put guys' heads at? I know your mantra all year has kind of been be the same guy. Does it apply here?
Absolutely. Nothing changes. We're fired up. We're ready to go. We've been wanting to get a chance to play in this game and get another chance at these guys. So we're fired up.
Looking at, obviously what you saw the last time you played these guys, you're a completely different football team now, but what needs to change?
Well, listen, they're a very good football team as well. They had a lot of success running the ball on us, and we felt like they pushed us around a little bit up front. So it's definitely about, playing tougher and stopping their run game and balancing out the time of possession more in our favor for sure. And just being a lot more consistent. You can't get down 17 points the way we spotted them 17 and had a big hole at halftime. So we definitely want to avoid that this time around.
I guess if we can simplify it down to one key, how do you beat Bergen Catholic this week?
Listen, there's going to be a lot of emotion. There's going to be a lot of intensity. I don't know if you can. It's definitely going to be making plays, right? It always is. Who's going to make more plays? It usually comes down to a couple plays, one way or the other. And I know our fans are going to be all psyched up, and it's going to be a great atmosphere. And you got to make those plays, especially down the stretch.
Of course, one of the keys for Don Bosco Prep has been the stellar play of their defense over the last 3 games, where they have given up just a total of 27 points over the last 3 games to the likes of St. Joe's, DePaul, and Paramus Catholic. And one of the leaders of that, Bosco D, is their outstanding defender in the secondary, Michael Courtney.
Bosco Bergen, first round of the playoffs. Where are you guys at mentally this week?
I wouldn't want this any other way. If we pull this off, it's going to be a big run. I'm glad we got another shot at Bergen. It's bigger, and it's better this way.
What do you see in terms of slowing down what Bergen brings to the table in the ground game? Obviously, they have some talented backs, a solid offensive line as a defense. Where do you guys put yourselves mentally to make those plays come playoff football?
Yeah, they're a solid team. We got down to it and just play harder, and we're gonna bring it, and we're ready. Yeah.
Do you think that there's some sort of advantage to you guys, starting out the year with a little adversity, some games not going the way that you necessarily planned, and that you kind of found yourselves as a team, not just, the offense and some of the changes they've threw, but you guys even as a defense, you've been more aggressive, you've made more big plays down the stretch, Do you think that makes you better in these more competitive games that you've had to go through a little bit to get to where you are now?
Yes, sir. Especially these past 2 years and this start of the season, we've come closer as a defense, and we've just grown from it and learned from it a lot, and we're tougher from it.
All right. What's the key to beating Bergen this week?
Out playing more physical and just playing our game and playing like we've been for the past weeks.
Of course, if you want to stop Bosco, you've got to stop that stellar running game, and Jalen Berger leads the way there. Berger, in his senior season, over 640 yards rushing, and Jalen talked about going up against the Crusaders in the first-round playoffs.
It's amazing. Just a chance to get payback, I guess.
Obviously, it adds a little bit based on, the history that you guys, not just throughout the rivalry, but falling to them in a really tight one early on. Is this a game where you kind of have to keep emotions in check, or do you have to ride that stuff? Do you really have to try and get even more up for a game like this?
Try not to let it take over, because that can kind of mess up your game, let your emotions get to you. But this is definitely a game that I think we can win. We've opened up the pass game a lot more, so I think we can beat them.
Get into playoff football now. Obviously, it's been a saga for you guys. You've gone through the lows of maybe some games early in the season not going your way, to an incredible upset of St. Joe's that really just kind of kick-started where you guys are at right now. Going through that adversity, I know it's cliche, but do you think you guys maybe have an advantage because you know who you are at this point in the year, and maybe you can handle the moment of a bigger game like a Bosco Bergen in the playoffs?
Yeah, like taking down Joe's just showed us that we know who we can be. So we just worked on finishing all week, and I think we're going to come out with this one.
All right, what's the key to beating Bergen Catholic this week?
Be more physical than them.
The other half of that dynamic duo, of course, is Kyle Monangai, over 900 yards rushing, and he had 5 touchdowns alone in the win against Paramus Catholic.
Kyle, Bosco Bergen, playoff football. How big is the stage?
It's the biggest. Couldn't ask for it any other way. It's get another chance with these guys like we did in the regular season, and it's just a great game. Bosco Bergen, the biggest rivalry in the country. It's going to be good.
How does it differ from another playoff scenario that you get, or is it kind of similar? At the end of the day, you win or your season's over.
Yeah, it's a playoff, so it's like that win or go home type mentality. But given that it's Bergen, it kind of adds a little more emotion to it. So it's going to be, emotional game. It's going to be a hard game, and I'm just excited to play.
We were just talking earlier with some of the other guys about how this team's been through some ups and downs this year. Maybe the beginning of the season didn't go how you wanted. Obviously, later in the year, you guys have made one heck of a turn. Maybe going through all that, does that kind of maybe give your guys a little bit of an edge in the sense that you know who you are as a team? You've been through some adversity, and you're maybe a little more comfortable in the big moments.
Yeah, after that big game against St. Joe's where we got our first win and started that winning streak, kind of just said we want to keep this thing rolling. And we're going into playoffs with a lot of momentum. I think a lot of teams are, scared to play us. And we're kind of taking that to, let's keep this thing going, and let's keep that mentality and, keep that, kind of tough guy attitude and, keep winning games.
You mentioned that, maybe there are some teams that, might be scared to play. You are playing hot football now. Is it almost like you're playing with a chip on your shoulder?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, and the last 3 games we won convincingly. So, we're just playing fast. I think we're playing the best football we have all year. We're practicing well. And everything's just kind of coming together that we've put together since the summer. Everything's clicking. We feel good. For the most part, everybody's healthy. So it's a great scenario to be in.
What's the key to beating Bergen Catholic this week?
Just worrying about us. I know it's Bergen, but, coming to it like any other game, same game plan. Everybody does their job, and we'll come out happy, yeah.
So the scene is set. Bergen Bosco, Part 2. Doesn't get any bigger than that in the first round of the playoffs.
No, Lou, these teams know each other very well. They have weapons on both sides of this rivalry, on both sides of the ball. They know, once again, they've played already. They've played each other a number of times throughout the year. It's just a matter of being simply tougher than your opponent in Bosco Bergen anytime, especially so in the postseason.
Should take a look at the rest of the bracket in non-public Group 4. The other game that kind of headlines things is certainly Paramus Catholic St. Joe's. Second time the Paladins and the Green Knights have met this year. First time around, it was a close game, a 1-touchdown differential, and the Paladins gave Joe's all they could handle in that one.
Yeah, Paramus Catholic are a really streaky team. Sometimes when they're playing at 110%, they can have a really potent athletic offense, normally led by the junior quarterback Dorian Noel. He did not play in the play-in game last week for whatever reason. Instead, it was the senior Michael Hudson Hudson, who normally plays as a slot receiver, filling in, did a great job running that offense, picking up over 100 yards on the ground alone. So, look, Paramus Catholic can make things happen when they want from time to time on the offensive side. St. Joe's, though, we saw what they did in their most recent outing against St. Peter's Prep, the aggressive, fast defense, and Audric Estime and Alimo and company executing on the offensive side of the ball. I'd imagine that this is going to be a game St. Joe's is going to handle, but Paramus Catholic got to be hungry as ever. And that's really the case for a lot of the games this weekend. You look at the St. Peter's Notre Dame game on the other side of the bracket, going to be the same exact deal.
Of course, just quickly looking back at that St. Joe's Paramus Catholic game, hey, you got to handle Audric Estime over 1,000 yards rushing, and Amin Vanover, what a season he's had defensively for St. Joe's. 14 tackles behind the line of scrimmage and 8.5 sacks on the year. And, as you take a look at the rest of their bracket, certainly St. Peter's Prep should be heavily favored this weekend. And as we said, the bracket really, the two headline games certainly are this one here, Bergen Bosco and St. Joe's Paramus Catholic.
Yeah, St. Joe's Paramus Catholic going to be a terrific one. You also can't sleep on the one we were plugging last week, St. Augustine and Seton Hall Prep. Yep. That's going to be a really good game on Friday night, I believe it is, at the Kelly Athletic Complex. That'll be a tight one. The winner of that, of course, gets to play the winner of that St. Peter's Prep Notre Dame game. And also, don't sleep on the Irish. Had a great win over Del Barton last weekend. Of course, this bracket is tight as all heck, but Friday night, all eyes, we know where they're going to be. Right here behind us, Granatell Stadium for the big one.
And hopefully it'll be warmer.
Don't count your blessings there.
On Friday night. All right, that'll do it here from Bosco. And again, Bosco Bergen coming up Friday night. That's a big one in the first round of the playoffs. For Rich DeKorte and everyone here at Inside Varsity Sports, I'm Lou Brogno. Thanks for joining us. Again, you've been watching Inside Varsity Sports on the Sidelines Football Edition.